A lot of people have questions about this flagpole problem on page 782. It's number 8. Instead of doing the exact problem, I've made up one that's very similar. So the way you go about doing our example in this case will be the same process that you will use to solve the actual problem on page 782. So let's see what we have here. Just kind of abbreviate a little bit. I went ahead and did a little drawing. The book also provides you with a drawing. So what we're told here is when the angle of elevation of the sun is 65 degrees, that's what we have here. The length of the shadow cast, which is down below, so you can see if you wanted to get a full picture, here's the sun casting this shadow of 180 feet long. And it's our job to find the height of the flagpole, and here's my flagpole, so I put a little X there. That's what we're asked to solve. So let's think about a trig ratio that will, of course here we're assuming is a right angle. Let's think about a trig ratio that would involve the opposite side, because that's what I'm looking for, and the adjacent side, because I'm given the angle 65 degrees, so this is where I'm looking out from. So let's think about the trig ratio that involves opposite and adjacent. And hopefully you remember that that's tangent. Okay, so we can write this as tangent 65 degrees is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. All right, so this is going to be pretty easy to solve for x. We're basically going to solve for x by multiplying by 180 on both sides, which means 180 times tan 65. Okay, so let's grab our calculator, and I think you can just enter it exactly like I have it written down there. 180 times tan 65, and that's 386.0112457. We're rounding to the nearest foot, so that means 386 feet. Okay, so that would be my answer to letter A. Pretty tall flagpole. Okay, well now the problem changes a little bit. Now we're asked to find another side, but we can assume it's the same flagpole. So this side now we can write in, because we found that on the previous letter A. We know that the height of the flagpole is 386 feet. And now we're asked to find the shadow that's being cast, but notice our angle of elevation also changed. So we've made this 28 degrees. So now what's the length of this shadow? And you can use the same trig ratio. Of course, we have opposite over adjacent. So if we do tan 28 degrees, the opposite side is 386, and the adjacent side is what we're looking for. So solving for x, we would be basically dividing 386 by tan 28 degrees. Okay, you can think of it this way. These are just going to basically switch places. Or, algebraically, we multiplied by x first, and then we divided by tan 28, and that got us to here. Okay, so we can avoid some of these rounding issues if we just key into our calculator literally 386 divided by, and then instead of finding that decimal, rounding it, and then dividing by that decimal, let's just divide by tangent 28 degrees, or tan 28. And that's 725.96, so we would say 726 feet. Okay, so that would be my answer for letter B. Now, what assumptions do we have to make? Well, first of all, we have to assume that the flagpole is perfectly straight. We have to assume that the ground is perfectly level. Okay, it can't be on any kind of a hill or anything like that. So, and the reason for that is, again, with a perfectly straight flagpole and perfectly level ground, the whole point here is that this should form a right angle. If this doesn't form a right angle, then the trig ratios that we're using are of no use to us. Okay, we use these trig ratios to solve right triangle problems. So there's several different ways of explaining this. We need a perfectly straight flagpole, level ground, because, here's the why, because we should be forming a right angle, just kind of abbreviating here, with the pole, flagpole, and the ground. So there are some assumptions that we are making. And you could have worded it a little bit differently, but that's the gist. The fact is we need a right angle to be able to use these ratios that we have at our disposal. So I hope that helps. Now that you've seen this, go about the same process, basically. Obviously, you're going to get different numbers, but go about the same process to get your answers to the problem number 8.